Hello, I'm Sarah Green. I'm speaking today with Christian Matspjær, co-author of The Moment of Clarity. Christian, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
So in the book you talk about a concept called sense-making. Could we just start by defining that term?
So sense-making is a way to analyze why we do the things we do as people, how we act, how we make decisions, and how we find our way around in the world. And it's not new at all. It's an old way of looking at things that come out of the social sciences, the human sciences, and is about the context in which we live, and trying to understand the rules that govern our behavior and our, dealings in the world in general.
Now there's a way that you've described this in the past where you use the analogy of wine, and being a fan of wine, I thought maybe you could share that metaphor with us here today as well.
Yeah, so there are certain things you do and don't do with wine. You probably wouldn't bring champagne to a funeral. That would be odd. It would also be odd to drink heavy, big California wines in the middle of the summer when you eat fish. That would be another thing that would be strange to do. So there are lots of rules that underpin our behavior. In the book we call it the hidden scaffolding. So the set of practices that feel normal and right to us is the object of study when you do sense-making.
Well, and how can understanding how this concept plays out, this hidden scaffolding as it were, how can understanding that really help businesses gain a competitive edge?
So let's say you are producing cars and you are American, say. Then your idea of a car is probably that it's about freedom, it's about going wherever you want to go, it's probably about individualism. Now in India and China, most cars are bought by people, by several families at the same time, which means that it's not anymore an individual. So what is it? What is it then? And that's something you can study. It's something that where if you are a car manufacturer, it's nice to know how's your stuff bought, how does preferences form, and in which context is your product placed. And that goes for mobile phones in Brazil and cars in China and food in the southern part of America. It's everywhere that the culture and the context around a product is very relevant to how you successfully launch things, how you successfully do business in general.
Well, and this is a kind of a nice segue, I think, to a distinction that you make that seems important to understand the concept as a whole, which is the difference between truth and correctness. And I was hoping you could just walk us through that distinction.
Yeah. So I guess if you have children and you ask them to put plates on the table, and they go in and they put 6 plates on the table, and it's just put up in a stack on the table, you would tell them, well, that's not what I meant. I meant put around with forks and knives and so on. And it's certainly correct that there is 6 plates on the table, even though it's stacked and not very helpful. But it's not true in the sense of the cultural context. Most data that we see in the $15 billion industry of market research is of the correct kind, and rarely of the true kind. So that means in its cultural context, in its average everyday situation. And there's a reason why 9 out of 10 products fail. There's a reason why a lot of the corporations that I've seen in my last 15, 20 years of working in there just have a hard time grasping why people do the things they do. And one of the reasons is that the method is simply wrong, that we're getting people wrong. And this is a way the book is a way to explain how to get people right.
Well, thank you. That's fascinating thinking, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come in today.
Of course.